fuel gauge is not working. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Well, no, it's kind of acting weird. But honestly, the problem today is that the car just isn't quite low enough. Yes, I did just install the Silivers Neomax coilovers on the C5 Corvette, and it's not, the issue is not with the coilovers themselves. The problem is with the fact that on this car, I still have 18-inch wheels on the back and 17s on the front. So we got plenty of drop in the rear. It's sitting nice and low for me. I like the stance, it's perfect. The problem with me is that because we have such small wheels in the front, even though we got a substantial amount of drop, there's still too much wheel gap there for me to like anyway. So the problem is solved, not by getting a new set of coilovers. No, Silivers has a solution. They have a super low setup that you can just simply swap out the bottom body of the coilover. That's slightly shorter, and it gives you a lower stance. So I thought I could handle the wheel gap for a little while until I got new wheels for the Corvette, but I just can't do it. I can't find the wheels that I actually want, and I just don't know how long it's going to be. So until then, I'm gonna make sure we get the car sitting low enough to actually be able to stand looking at it. I have a video coming out soon of my initial impressions of this coilover setup on this car. So make sure you check that video out if it's not uploaded already. But I actually liked how the car rode. I'll give you that little tidbit there. So I think our dampening and our preload settings are just on the money. But all we need to do today is basically swap out this lower body. I say that like there's not gonna be any problems, so fingers crossed. We don't run into any issues, but we all know how that goes on these simple projects, right? But again, just the lower body of the Neomax coilover gets swapped out. So essentially this portion here is about a ½ inch shorter. Just looking at it here, what I'm going to try to do, I think, is just simply disconnect the sway bar end link, and that should allow us then to drop or lower this entire assembly, giving us enough room to unscrew that lower body there. Before you completely disassemble, you want to keep some bolts in here so this doesn't rotate on you when you loosen your lower ring. Here's the regular base that I just removed. Now here is the super low. It's not a massive difference, but it's about a ½ inch. About a ½ inch difference between the two is what they say. And I don't know if that translates perfectly to a ½ inch drop, or it may be potentially more. Just, suspension geometry is a little weird, but we'll definitely see. We'll see if we can close the gap a little more. We'll lock this down firmly once we got everything secure. Again, we are screwed in all the way, so we are as low as we can possibly go. You can see the bottom of the threaded cylinder down in the lower body of the coilover. I just went ahead and reset my preload completely. That way we know we're starting from scratch. I'm gonna go ahead and take a measurement of the threaded area right there, so we're exactly the same on the driver's side. The only thing now is I have to wait until we adjust the ride height on the other side so we can get the sway bar end link in. A little bit too low now. Not sure how well this will focus in, but we are about 1 3/8 inch space between the two rings. the same process on the other side. Also pre-tilt these little mounting arms. They come flush, but the lower control arm is at a slant when you put these in, and it's tough to rotate them when it's on the car. So a little bit of leverage, adjustable wrench here, stick something down in here and twist. Just a slight angle. Everything is buttoned up. Preload readjusted on this one as well. If everything was done correctly, my preload is right, we should be at about 1 3/8 inches. I would say it's pretty close. This is the moment of truth. It's not even all the way down yet, and I can tell it's already lower just by how much it sucked the wheel up. But I think part of the problem is too that these wheels aren't a very aggressive offset, so we're not flush at all, and that makes it look like it sits a little higher than it does even. So I got a set of extended wheel studs, just a couple of millimeters longer than the factory studs, so we can actually run a little bit of a spacer. I tried to put a spacer on these right now, and there's just not enough threads left to even run a 5mm spacer. So with these, if I can get a 3 or 5mm spacer, we'll be really, really flush with the front fenders, and I think that'll make it look lower as well. So let's bring her down. I'm actually nervous to bring it the rest of the way down, but here we go. It's definitely lower. We'll get her backed out of the garage. Look at that rear. Whew, looks so good. I know Corvettes are low, but this is super low now. The rear is just absolutely perfect. It's not a 100% accurate depiction here because we're obviously sloped down in the driveway, but significant difference. Just another 1/2 inch lower in the front. I think that's probably about right. That might give you a bit of an idea. I think definitely if we put a spacer on that front wheel, pushing it out just a little bit closer to flush, that'll make a huge difference. Again, I'm gonna upsize the front wheels to 18s, maybe even 19s, and that'll make a difference too, depending on the size of tire we go. If I go 18s, it'll probably be a 275/40 18, which will give us another inch actually in height, so it should definitely close that wheel gap. And it'll be the same meaty sidewall that you see there. It's exactly the same measurement. If we go with a 19, it'll be a 275/35 19, and it'll be a slightly thinner sidewall, but again, we'll have an inch of overall diameter growth. I do wish it could come down, honestly, another inch or so. Even a 1/2 inch would be good, but another inch would be fantastic. I guess it's just pushing me to find wheels for this car even sooner than I wanted to. I literally just ordered wheels for the SQ5 yesterday, so I'm not in a big rush to buy more wheels, to be quite honest, unless somebody wants to sponsor me. How crazy would I be to cut about an inch of threads off of that coilover? I gotta say, it's kind of tempting. It's actually my one big bugaboo with the C5 and the C6 Corvette. The front ends on them sit so high. It's so weird for such a low car. I don't know why they built in so much wheel gap in the fronts on these things. The C6 Z06 in Grand Sport sit perfectly in the front, and I'm sure it has to do with the front fender design, but the base model C5s and C6s, for some reason, just sit so high. I think we're getting it situated and dialed in though, but guys, stick around. Upcoming video, we'll get the extended wheel lugs put in with some spacers. We'll get these front wheels pushed out. We'll take care of this wheel gap until we get the new wheels. We got the Halo headlights ready to go in, and the lights that I just replaced and got working nicely. For some reason, the driver's side is out, so we're gonna have to explore that problem. This thing again is ready for a tune, so we got to get that scheduled. So that'll be coming up soon. We got a lot more coming for the C5. Got new wheels on order for the SQ5. So just a lot of stuff coming for the channel, guys. I hope you stick around. Appreciate you watching this one. I appreciate the continued support up to this point. We'll see you in the next one.